Today we are going to do a build that I was really looking forward to do, because this is the Gamdias Neso P1, a case which I personally found super exciting. I almost threw a 4090 off the table. But let's talk about what is going into this build of today. First off, we got a bunch of new components. For example, this Gigabyte B760 Gaming X AX DDR4. Why are motherboard names always so freaking long? But this is a Intel 13th and 14th gen motherboard, but it is DDR4, because we also got a box of brand new Viper Gaming Steel RGB Extreme Performance memory. Wow, that's a lot of freaking keywords. So these are two sticks of, 3600 megahertz DDR4, a total of 32 gigs, and they are RGB. Because yes, the whole theme of today, the whole shtick will be a bit RGB bound, not too much. And I just want to find out what's CL? CL18. It's written so tiny on here. It's CL18. So these should be quite good RAM, not the best on the market, but they should do the job just fine. Another brand new component is a brand new 14600K. Maybe you remember what happened to my last one, which I got in the original packaging, where just some of the components in the bottom were broken off, and look at that, here they are. They are not broken off. That's something new for me. And this is not a K, this is a KF. I didn't even realize that I bought a KF. But this is a 14600KF, the non-iGPU version of the 14600K. Then for power supply, we got our Xilinx 1200 watts behemoth. Because why the hell not? Two of these cable extensions, and you might ask now yourself, why just two and why not also give the GPU one? Because we are going to use our Zotac Amp Extreme many keywords 4090. Now the thing is, I do not have cable extensions for that PCIe 5.0 plug, but it doesn't really matter, because I am going to orient the GPU in this manner. I'm going to route the cable to the back. In the best case scenario, you would have seen like a centimeter of that cable. So I'm just going to hide it with the octopus and then route it to the back and then out in the bottom, and nobody will see it. No matter what build, if the GPU is oriented like vertically, then the only cable you really see is the 24 pin. That's all. So I'm fine with that. For the cooling, I wanted to go a bit, oversized. We're going to use the Silent Loop 2 from Be Quiet in 360 millimeters. However, I'm not going to use the regular one using the really old Silent Ring 3s, but I'm going to exchange the fans for a bunch of Lightwing 120 high speeds. They are good fans, they are RGB, and they will do the job just fine. We're going to fill the case with a bunch of these Lightwing 120s in non-high speed, which is 1700 RPM. So in the bottom three for intake, we got exhaust in the back, and we will have the three exhaust ones on the side on the radiator. Now, in theory, this would result in a negative pressure, as in more air goes out than in, because we got 3 times out and we got 4 times out and just 3 in. The point, however, is because there is a radiator in between, the amount of air exiting the case on the side is significantly smaller than just pumping air out without a radiator. So I believe that actually, if we would measure it, it's either neutral or even slightly positive because of the 3 restricted fans. But, ooh, the back supports 140. Give me a second. Slight change of plan, the back will get a 140mm Lightwing. Not because it needs one, but because I would not be happy with having wasted area for fans. Now, the whole build will be slightly more complicated than usual. A few things. I have in mind that I need to check if the motherboard will boot by default with the 14600KF, because as it was released, or even on the box, it says supports Intel 13th gen, which is not a great indicator that the BIOS has been updated. So we will slap in the 14600KF, we will see if it boots. If not, I have a 13 whatever lying around ready to go. I have a USB drive. Where is it? I have my handy little USB drive with the BIOS already preloaded if I need to update it. That is one thing. The other thing is the Silent Loop does not have the mounting for LGA 1700. However, my Pure Loop 2 FX does have, my Pure Loop 2 FX does have the LGA 1700 mounting. Thankfully, the whole thing is intercompatible, so I will steal this mounting for this AIO and the whole build will look awesome. Oh, and for good measurement, for the very first time in my life, I will be building a build using one of these fan controllers from Be Quiet, which is a ARGB/PWM splitter, essentially. Not because I need to, but because I have so many of them, and this case has like an integrated spot to put them on, and I thought, you know what, let's use that spot for once. Yeah, I guess let's begin. I have the slight feeling that it was not, that the thing will not boot by default. Of course I could be wrong, I could be, but I kinda doubt it. Wi-Fi, which we will need later on. Oh, this is one fancy looking motherboard. Nice. Something that isn't ideal for me today is that we have that KF instead of just a K, so I have no iGPU in here. And what that means for me is that I need to connect the 4090 beforehand, which I don't really want to do, but yeah, I kind of don't have another way around that. Yeah, let's just do like the most DIY thing here. This is not resting in a good way at all, but this will work. And this is going to be one of these moments of please do not do what I'm doing and do it the correct way. Yes, I'm just positioning a Deepcool Assassin 4 on top of it, without thermal paste, without screwing it down. Please do not repeat this. And for good measurement, I will put this heavy thing on there, just to have some pressure. Please make your bets. I have a monitor down here ready. I can even lift it up on the table, somewhat like this. Yes. Do you believe the thing will boot or not? Please make your bets right now. I'm going to boot it. And this is a reset switch. The motherboard comes with a fancy little reset switch. So, will it work? Oh, the thing has a Q flash plus. I can flash it without installing a CPU. Well, now I'm halfway through. And the reset button does not do boot. I thought it did. It did, but it doesn't. What do we got? A boot VGA LED? Why VGA? DRAM? Yeah, it boot cycled for the very first time. Wow, the RAM sticks have some noise RGB going. But that's not the point now. Oh, it booted! Wow, the BIOS was updated. Oh, that's amazing! I don't need to. Wow, that was unexpected. Cool. It does mean that I would have lost my bet, but that's kinda cool. Awesome. So I guess we can continue with the regular build without doing any shenanigans. Let's get the mounting that we need and proceed installing the mounting and then slapping the whole thing into the case. Okay, motherboard ready, let's slap it into the case. I'm so excited to work inside of this case. I found it to be so cool. Of course, it does have a very strong resemblance to, what's that company called? I never had a case from them. For the love of God, I just can't remember the name right now. You know which one. There will be an image about which one. And of course, it has a very strong resemblance to that company and to their case. It's not identical, of course not. There are differences, strong differences. And I hope that one day I can get one from the other company and then see what the differences really are all about and which one is better, but I do really like the form factor or the way the whole thing is built. I really do enjoy that. Great. I think the best course of action is to install the AIO ASAP. Just have it in there because I fear, yeah, it kind of doesn't really matter if I first do the fans, then the AIO, but I think I will just do the AIO first. So what I first need to do is not remove the original fans because they are not on there. They are in my fan shelf, but I need to install all the other ones and then slap that whole thing in there. That was a screwdriver. Okay, what do these do in there? No clue. Okay, now I just need an army of radiator screws, and preferably I want them all to look the same. Why didn't I take a 280? That would have been 4 screws less. Okay, I found 4, 8, 12 identical looking ones, so we are good to go. Now usually I would prefer to have the tubes go down, but in this case, do we want to do that? No, they will be slightly short if I do that. Yeah, they will be a bit too short, so we will put the tubes top. And because the top part of the radiator will still be higher than the water block and the pump, it's not a problem. Okay, fans are ready. I will just open all of these Velcro ties so that I can actually pull the cables towards the back of the case. And from there, we are ready to install it. If I can just now somehow... Oh yeah, because I can open this, which will give me exactly the room that I need to work with. Perfect. And from here I can still decide if I want to squeeze it upwards or not. But I think I will very slightly lower it, because not really any reason other than I think that looks slightly better. Not too low. Yeah. Like that. Let's give it a last screw for very good measurement. Great. Yeah, maybe not do that, but what we can now do is install the water block. And I have here a little syringe of thermal paste. And because this doesn't use the very old Be Quiet, not so handy mounting mechanic, I can just put it on top and screw it down, which is exactly what you want to see with everything. Yeah, now I just somehow need to get my hands in there for the screwdriver. That's how the tube should look like. Route this motherfucker to the back. We have here a pump. Do we have a pump header next to the chip? No, we do not, but that's not a problem. I will mount this one to CPU optional. And the ARGB will go later on into the ARGB controller. Now, one thing I still need to find somewhere here is a 1-to-3 PWM splitter for the 3 fans on top of the AIO. Yeah, let's quickly do a bit of very boring cable management. You know what, while I'm already here, let's also do the whole cable connection thing for all the cables from the case. That way, that's already done. We got here the 2 USBs. Where does this motherboard have its USBs? One there and the other one right next to it. So that's okay. Is it the central? No, the top one. So we got this one and this one. Then in the very bottom we got the audio, which for once is long enough. And the only thing left is power switch. Power, okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all of that is done. I guess it's time for the fans. I guess having now the 140mm fan in the back does slightly change my whole assumption about it being slightly negative pressure because of the radiator. However, I don't really care. At least it looks good, and considering the amount of cooling that we have, cooling is not an issue in here, not at all. Not for a 14600K. The only issue that I may or may not see is dust. That's like the biggest problem in here. Although to consider that a problem is already an assumption on its own. For the bottom fans, I have 2 possibilities. I can install them onto that shroud in the bottom, or I can install them underneath. Which one will I do? Oh yeah, I can just install them in the bottom. If I install them on top of that shroud, I'm limited to Oh no, I'm limited to 0. This is for the PCIe riser if you happen to use one. So underneath it is, which doesn't really matter anyway. The only thing is it will be a dust sucker slightly. But thankfully we should have a dust filter underneath the thing. Yeah, it has a dust filter underneath. It's not going to be that big of a problem. But still, and of course these are going to be intakes. So good looking side to the bottom. Oh yeah, this is some serious air from the bottom. The GPU will be swimming in air. It's going to be the happiest GPU ever. And we got that nice little hole that goes from the bottom towards the back panel. It's coming out like immediately underneath this hole here. And it's great cable management. So far I love this case. Installed. This one is just not routed. Oh no, it is routed. So installed, the bottom is installed. Yeah, all the fans are in. The top I will leave without any fans, because then I would have like really negative pressure. Positive pressure. Positive pressure? Yeah, positive pressure. The top I will leave empty. We have so much cooling going on, we just don't need it, not at all. The thing is, I believe now I will connect all of the fans already to this controller, position it where it needs to be in the end, and then start on with the power supply, because I have a bit of a cable mess here in the back. So give me a minute, I will tidy this up and then we will be back. Something that didn't cease to amaze me, I used that controller and I somehow still managed to use all of the ports and I needed to use the splitters. Amazing how many ARGB devices we have in here today. Okay, and now let's maybe just get all of these screws out of the way, because we don't need them anymore. But what I do need are these cable extensions, because I want the build to look beautiful. Not just like any build, it should be a beautiful build. Oh yeah. And the last one, which will be barely seeable anyway, the CPU power plug. Now we are almost done, and I'm saying almost because what I also wanted to do here is have the GPU oriented vertically. So with this case, it's actually very easy. It's 5 screws. That's all it takes. 5 screws and a riser. And this goes back in this way, and then we have a vertical GPU mounting. Now for the riser, I do know that this is a PCIe Gen 3 riser, but let's be honest, it doesn't really matter. There are still no like concerns or measurable differences. Do I not have a shorter one? Because this is like very freaking long. Unnecessarily long. I would just have a look at if I find a shorter one. I have this Montec VGA vertical GPU mounting kit, which apparently it does not only have a riser in it, which is really high quality, and is this not maybe even PCIe Gen 4? Oh yeah, it's Gen 4. It's a Gen 4 riser, great. But what it also has is the plug, the GPU plug in a 90-degree angle, which means that I can easily connect it to the bottom of the case using these little things here. And I initially did not plan to do that, but if the holes now align, which they do, I will most definitely do that. And that will also give the GPU some more strength, so that it doesn't sag into like the back direction, like horizontally like this. But I would just need to figure out if I have enough space to make the whole thing not overbent. These are the correct screws. Ah, this is great. That way I can do the build even better than I initially expected. And yes, this is going to be slightly squishy, but I really want the GPU to be as much pushed to the back as possible. And those here are not the correct screws. I think it's the thick ones. Oh, something I could have checked is the length of the PCIe riser, but it seems to me that this is very much fine. Oh yeah! Doesn't this look awesome now? Which you can barely see. So give me a second and install the GPU and then you will see what I mean. The GPU cable can actually come in from the bottom, because you won't see it anyway. And I will just hide the whole octopus thing in the bottom. How much? 1, 2, 3. 3 from here on. But now the GPU. slots in perfectly. But I do need to give it a slight lift before I can screw it in, because it pushes everything down and it completely bends the PCIe riser in the bottom. Okay, now it's being kept in place properly. And this connector, the whole octopus schmuck thing, I can now actually hide very easily underneath or behind the GPU. I just need to somehow get it in. Which I could have done beforehand, but I didn't, and now I have the problem that I have. Cable hidden, everything connected. I guess ready to check if it works. Yeah, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that thing performs like a beast and it looks incredibly good. Like, I'm really happy how this whole thing turns out, and the tempered glass side panel is it's so strong in there. Anyway, that thing is freaking awesome. I loved to build inside of this case, and I really need to... Oh, I never removed the... No, building inside of this case was incredibly easy. The amount of space, because I have so much RGB going, I have so many cables, I have the controller, I have here, I have there, I have the PCIe extension, I have the 24-pin extension, I have all of that going on in the back, everything fit in there. I just jammed it in, closed it up, finished. It's really easy to cable manage in here, and you have a lot of possibilities. Those straps around going from top to bottom help a lot. Now let's talk about performance, because I did a bit of temperature benchmarks in here, and I reset the BIOS to stock everything except for XMP, which I enabled of course for the 3600 MHz, and then I ran Cinebench 24 and Firmark 4K all in. Cinebench in a loop for the Firmark, just the stress test, so going on forever, and I have fantastic results. The CPU was packed against 5.3 on the P cores and 4 GHz on the E cores, burning about 160 watts, which is very normal for a 14600K. The GPU was auto, the fans were barely spinning, and now they are not spinning at all, which I'm very thankful for, that the GPU has like that auto stop feature, because otherwise you didn't really need a 4090 to spin all the time. However, the GPU was sitting at just 55 degrees C during Firmark 4K all-in, which is amazing. And the hotspot was about 61 degrees C. So that thing is cool as hell. Probably, and I'm not so sure, but probably the bottom fans helped a lot. I don't really want to measure it without, because that thing just functions perfectly out of the box, so let's leave it like this, and the GPU is amazingly cooled. For the CPU, that thing never even saw 90 degrees C on the package, and during the Cinebench run it was more like 83, 82, 84 degrees C. 84 was like the max that I saw, and then once it packed against like 89, but overall was always sitting at about 80 something, 82, 83, which is amazing for a Cinebench 24 run. So during gaming that thing will not really get hot at all. This is one amazing gaming PC. The cooling potential of this is just great. Now I won't be doing any gaming benchmarks. It's a 14600KF in combination with a 4090. I'm sure a million other people have done benchmarks on this. For me it was more the build experience, the case, how everything turned out, and I am very happy how it turned out. It looks amazing in my opinion, and the experience was really great. One thing I will say, which I didn't notice during the build, apparently at some point the water block slipped out of its bracket. So when when I first started up, it was packed against 100 degrees C, the CPU was thermal throttling really hard, and I needed a bit of time to figure out that the whole water block was just shifted off the CPU. And not enough so that I see it, like immediately notice it, but it was enough so that the hotspot of the CPU was not at all aligned where it should be, and the whole thing performed really bad. But the solution was quite easy, just click it back in and everything was running fine again. So for me, the build is over, but you tell me what you think about it. I think it looks amazing. I really enjoyed this case. Gamdias did a really great job here, and the overall looks are exactly what I would put next to me on the table. That's completely my thing, but you tell me in the comments what you think about it, what we could have done differently. But for today, this is going to be it. I would like to thank you for watching, and thank you again to Gamdias for sending over this beautiful case, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.